Well, as you can see, we're here at the Parts View workbench, Dave. We're talking about deep dropping. And, you know, deep dropping for me, when I was young, was anything over 150 feet.
Correct.
Because monofilament was so big in diameter, to fish 20 pound, you couldn't get below that.
Yep. None of that. You had to hand crank everything.
Which is
But you know, Braid did make this whole deep drop thing possible. I remember when spider wire first came out at ICAST, and I was working for Sport Fishing Magazine at the time, and we had a trip to go to Bimini and fish with Ron Shatman, deep dropping. 1,900 feet we were dropping, which is the Empire State Building with a football field on top of it.
Okay.
That's 1,900 feet.
Just a little drop.
Yeah, and we were dropping to the bottom with 5 pounds of weight, like one of those little candle.
Like one of these.
Window sash weight, and we were using barracuda, slabs of barracuda, and we were really amazed because with that you know, that braided line, you can feel every little tick and tap of the little fishes as they're trying to eat that barracuda, and then when the big fish came, and we set 9 world records in 3 days because everything that we caught and got to the surface was an all tackle world record, because nobody had cranked that thing up from 1,900 feet before. So we had yellow eye snappers and winchmen and pomfrets and wreckfish, all these different weird bottom fish, and we were using stuff like this.
So speaking of stuff like this, let's talk a little bit about the rigs.
You know, this rig here is a deep drop rig. This one is made for the smaller fishes, like maybe tilefish. Or winchmen or something like that. You know, you got these smaller treble hooks on here. You'll notice that they're pretty long, and that you want, when you're making these deep drops, you want to get as many hooks down there as possible so you can load them up, because you don't want to be dropping this far this many times, especially if you're having to crank them up by hand.
Speak for yourself, Dave.
Yeah, you know, I was good for about 3 drops at 1,900 feet by cranking hand, and we're using these big dual reels, which were weird Italian reels that you crank this way and you'd be picking up line, and then when you want to go backwards, you could still pick up line just by going backwards.
I could see how that could really work for your personality.
Well, it worked good,
forward or backward.
Yeah, exactly. And you're using these. You're using this stuff. You're fishing usually between 900 to 1,200 feet of water, especially if you're going to be fishing for swordfish. You're going to be fishing even deeper. So you're going to be wanting to use lights. You notice all these have glow shrink wrap. It's dark down there.
That's an R&R.
Yeah, once you get past 1,000 feet, it's dark. So any kind of light, doesn't matter really what color of light you use, just as long as you have a light down there. And when you put your light on, don't attach it to the leader itself. Try to hang it off a piece of hardware or something like that, because if that light is laying against this monofilament and it starts flashing, the whole monofilament lights up. Just like those little things you used to see in the mall where the light would turn on and it would make the light go all the way through the fibers. Well, it's the same thing with monofilament. If that light is touching the mono, it goes all the way through and they can see everything.
I gotcha.
So, but nowadays we're lucky. We got electric reels, like that Penn Fathom 2 electric reel, the 80 right there. Thing's amazing. 40 pounds of drag, you know, no problem. The battery's integrated inside of there, so you don't have to be, you know, attached to a plug at all times. You know, you can just charge that thing up on the boat, or charge you 3 or 4 of them up before you go, and just keep replacing that battery, you know, as you go. And you can crank by hand if you want to.
Yes.
You know, you can crank a little bit by hand if you want, or you can just go ahead and hit it full electric.
Full electric.
Yeah, and it just cranks, you know, those big weights and everything all the way to the surface.
Now, this also makes a portable.
Correct. You can turn any of your electric reels into a no cable reel. You don't have to worry about being, you know, have to stay next to a plug or anything. If you get these Abyss batteries, you can Velcro them right to the handle of the rod, as a matter of fact, and run your whole, you know, run your battery. And it has a nice little gauge at the top that tells you how much charge you got left.
Yeah.